Hey y'all, it's Angie. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a fun one. I am taking a thrift store item that I bought recently and I'm upcycling it. I know y'all love these kind of videos, so I thought that I would go ahead and share this one with you. I'm in the middle of updating my kitchen. It's not a big overhaul or anything like that. I'm just giving it a good paint job, new lights, new rugs, and some new hardware for the kitchen cabinets. So I'm in the middle of that, and I'll share a video as soon as it's finished. But I thought while I waited on my rug and my light that I would go ahead and work on some decor that I'm putting in the kitchen. I love to thrift. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that. And I love to take things that I find at the thrift store and upcycle them into something that looks high-end. So recently I found a cutting board that I could use in my kitchen. Now, it was not the old French looking cutting boards, but it had the shape, and if you use your imagination, you can see what I want to do with it. Here's the cutting board that I found. I love the shape of it. I think that it will really work well for my project, but this was on the other side of it. This cutting board cost $2.94, so I think that I can peel this off and really work with it and get the look that I want to get in my kitchen. I also picked up this cutting board. It does need a light sanding because it's a little bit sticky, so I love the rope on it. So I'm going to try to incorporate this in my kitchen also. And then I also found this one. I don't know if I will use all of these in my kitchen, but I thought that it would be a fun upcycle for you today for me to take these simple thrift store cutting boards and turn them into a French looking rustic old cutting board. So I hope you enjoy. This is my inspiration picture, and this cutting board is $425. This is what I'm working with. It has potential, so I start by taking some of these pictures off. These were held on with Mod Podge, and so some of them were on there pretty well. But I started by removing the price tags. Those were pretty easy to take off. And then I did remove the pictures that were not on as secure as some of the others. And a lot of these I could take off with my fingernail. They did leave behind some paper, but I knew I could remove that with a sander. And so I did pull out my X-Acto knife. If you do this, please be really careful with this because it's extremely sharp. But this worked really well for me, and I knew that if I got any gouges or scrapes in the wood, that it would add to the character of my cutting board. So I didn't really worry about that. I just wanted to get these pictures off because if I took my sander to it, it would gum up the sandpaper, and I didn't want that. So I worked on this and got all my stickers off. So after all that scraping, this is what I ended up with. And so it's just really stuck on there really well. So I took it to my sink and I thought maybe I could scrub it off. So I used some steel wool and some Dawn dish soap and some warm water. And then I just scrubbed it really well, hoping that it would help the paper to come off the cutting board. It did help a little bit, but it still needed some more work. I took it outside and used my sander with 100 grit sandpaper, and I sanded off the rest of the paper that was stuck on the cutting board. This worked really well because it got it all off. Now, if I'd had a tougher sandpaper, it probably would have worked quicker, but all I had was 100 grit and it worked well. So I just did this until all the paper was gone. I did both sides of the cutting board, which is probably a good idea if you buy it at the thrift store. That way it's clean and you know that there's not any kind of germs or anything on it because you're sanding it away. So I would recommend this on any cutting board, whether you're refinishing it or anything. Just give it a good sanding, and it makes it so beautiful and looks so clean. When I finished sanding and all the paper was gone from my cutting board, I brought it into my sink and gave it a good cleaning with Dawn dish soap and warm water. To make it look more like my inspiration board, I'm going to distress it with a hammer and a nail, a wire brush, a knife, and this little thing from Pampered Chef. And I'm just going to take it and just ram it down into my cutting board, just making small holes. You'll see them, but you really won't notice them that well until you put the stain on, and then it'll make all these marks come out, and it'll look like a real old French inspired cutting board. I take a hammer and nail and I just nail small holes into the board. This mimics the wormholes that old French cutting boards have. Next, I take my wire brush and I run it vertically down the board, just making grooves. And then I also turn it around and run it horizontal so that the stain has more places to get in and make it look aged. I then take my knife and I just cut just different grooves in the board, trying to keep it where the wear and tear would be naturally. And then last, I take my hammer and I just beat it up a little bit more. You can take chunks out of it if you want to, but I just made little indentions in mine that you'll be able to really tell once I get the stain on. And then I take a cloth and wipe all of the dust off of the board. Since I want this cutting board to be food safe, I'm going to stain it with coffee and see if I can get the desired look. I just put the coffee on a paper towel and I just rub it onto the cutting board in even sections, and then I'm just going to let that dry and see if it's the look that I'm going for. The color with the coffee was not exactly what I was hoping for, and I want to keep this food safe, so that's why I'm not using just a regular stain. You could use a regular stain, but you would not be able to put food on it. And I read on the internet that you could use balsamic vinegar and keep the board food safe. So I'm going to try that. This is all an experiment to see what color I can come up with. And the coffee was really light, and I want to bring out the grooves and the markings in the board. So I'm hoping that the balsamic vinegar will do that. And I may put another coat of vinegar on it, and I may put another coat of coffee on it. So I'm just going to do this and let it dry and see what I come up with. I did end up putting another coat of balsamic vinegar on the board, and I applied this with a paintbrush and got down in the grooves, so we'll see what happens. Decided to do one more step, and that was to add the leftover coffee grounds. I just rubbed it in really well in all the nooks and crannies, and I'm going to leave it and see what this will turn out to look like. I hope that video inspired you to take something from the thrift store, use your imagination, and turn it into something beautiful that you can use in your home. If you end up upcycling a cutting board, just leave me a comment below and let me know. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, I would love if you would hit the subscribe button, and you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Our Contented Home. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.